Welcome to the Accidental Business Owner podcast, the show that lifts the lid on what it really takes to grow, scale and successfully exit your business without losing your sanity, soul or savings. Real stories, raw lessons, proven strategies. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hi, Jay Allen from My True North. Welcome to the Accidental Business Owner podcast, where today I'll be sharing how you can reclaim at least 10 hours a week. How frequently are you busy? How much time do you spend in work doing the doing? How many hours a day? How many days a week? How much time do you spend in your business right now? The chances are that if you're watching or listening to this podcast, then it could very well be that we've attracted you because you're perhaps spending more time than you either ought to or desire to spend right now. Perhaps there's other things in your life that you would love to be able to spend more time on or with. Maybe that's your family or friends or a hobby or a pastime or visiting other places. There are other things that you'd like to be doing, and yet at the moment the business determines that you need to spend the time in it. Well, the majority of clients that we work with at some stage have acknowledged my title, if you like, of are you in busyness? I'm not talking about being the business owner, I'm talking about being the busyness owner. Spending early mornings, late nights, not having a lunch break, compromising on other areas of your life in order to be able to do what's necessary to be able to grow the business. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for hard work, about rolling your sleeves up and getting stuck in when it's required. But that is also the caveat, when it is required. And yet the majority of people, certainly within smaller business owners, and particularly the ones that I'm trying to speak to directly right now, those accidental business owners, are the ones that have built something that is good and successful and popular, and yet they are still the linchpin within the business that everything else surrounds. You are or managing pretty much everything within the business, that it all flows through you, and as a result of which, when you're not present, things start to slow down. I wonder, just out of curiosity, as to how much time could you spend away from the business before the business even noticed that you weren't there? Can you take the afternoon off? Could you finish watching or listening to this podcast now and then stop doing anything, stop answering phone calls or messages or emails or delivery? Could you just stop for 24 hours? And I'm not saying, just go missing. I'm not saying not do the family stuff or disappear. But how long would it take before your business even noticed that you weren't there and present? 24 hours? 5 days? 2 weeks to go on a holiday? When was the last time you took a holiday and didn't even take your mobile phone or certainly switched it to aircraft mode or airplane mode and didn't need it other than for a camera for holiday snaps? When was the last time that you took 2 weeks off from the business, not only physically but mentally? Just downtime, stopped, and the impact that had on the business. I certainly remember last year, around July time, I've been working with a client called Brian. Brian's a lovely, lovely guy. I really enjoy working with Brian. He's married, he's got two young teenage kids. One's about 14, the other one's maybe 11-ish or 12 or so. But young children, older children, young children, perception. He's got 2 kids. And it was coming towards the summer holidays. And I'd asked Brian whether he was going to take the full 6 weeks school holidays off to spend time with his family. 6 weeks, Jay? He says, I'll be lucky if I get 6 days. I went, hang on a minute, Brian. We started working in April this year. We've been working towards being able to apply some of that ADDAZERO methodology. I'd like to think that the business is moving in a direction that you can now take some time. This is Jay. Says, when we did our business scale-up assessment score, as you know, the score was quite low. There were lots of things that needed to happen. And, we've been working on our marketing and our sales funnel in order to be able to ensure that we've got a steady rhythm of new inquiries coming into the business. And we're onboarding new customers now. But we're certainly a long way from me being able to step away from operations and be the CEO that you first spoke about. I'll be in work, early and sometimes working late all the way through the school holidays. I'd like to think that I might get a week off towards the end of the school holidays, maybe at bank holiday weekend before they go back to school. And sure enough, over the summer holidays, his wife and kids went to Euro Disney for 10 days. They had an amazing time. And Brian flew out to meet them for a weekend. He finished work and he was proud to say, I've been able to get on a flight at 1 o'clock, Jay, on a Friday. I've knocked myself off 3 hours early. And yet he was back at his desk by about 10:30 on Monday morning. And he'd taken 2 days over a weekend to spend with his family, who'd already been out there for over a week enjoying a holiday without him. And I'm not saying that they're enjoying being without him. I'm talking about they're enjoying the holiday regardless of the fact that Dad wasn't there. Now, surely that's not what you signed up for when you started your business. That wasn't one of your goals for 2025. I'll tell you what, I'll work continually so you can have a holiday. That's not how it works. That's busyness. And sure enough, I accept the fact that we've only just relatively started working with Brian. There's a lot of work to be done. We acknowledge, we both saw that the score wasn't what he wanted it to be and what it needs to be in order to have sustainable, scalable growth. So we're still working with Brian, and there's lots to do in the operations and the back office by his own admission. But I'm wondering as to whether you're another Brian. I'm wondering whether, although you've got this business and things are going well, maybe they're going well because you're present, because you're there, because everything still runs through you, and as a result of which, you've got a busyness. Every time you stop, it slows down, and if you stop for too long, it could stop also. That's not a business, that's a job. And if you've been watching us on social recently, you'll notice that I've started to call it, which grade of prison are you in? Are you in a 1-star jail cell in isolation? Or have you created a nice 5-star suite of a jail sentence that still tied you to the day-to-day operations of it? As Gerber says, are you the business operator or are you a true business owner? That the business operates regardless of your involvement in it. So I guess the provocative question is, could you make yourself redundant? I'm not necessarily talking about a P45 and going to HMRC, but I'm talking about how long could you spend away from the business without interference whatsoever, without any form of interaction, be it email or text or phone, and the business continue to grow and evolve and develop. And if you haven't yet got a 3-year plan to be able to achieve that, then in 3 years' time, you're still going to be apologising to your kids for being fortunate enough to spend Sunday afternoon tired, shattered and frustrated listening to all the things that they've done without you being present. If that's not what you signed up for in business, then perhaps it's time we had a conversation. Because trust me, there is so much more that we could be doing when the business is able to operate and you're able to be able to manage its operation, to step out of and move from being able to do all of the things to being an owner of a business that does things. Now, I did promise at the start of this podcast episode that we were going to talk about saving at least 10 hours a week. And therefore, if you've got a pen to hand, and if you haven't, quickly grab one now, because in a few minutes, I'm just going to quickly share 4 things that you could implement today in order to be able to start saving, on average, about 10 hours a week. 40 hours a month. 480 hours a year saved by implementing 4 simple things that you could do from today. Just out of curiosity, if you got 480 hours back that you could start operating on your business, not continually in your business, what would that be worth? If you were to put a figure on what 480 hours back would be worth, not just in financial terms, but in 480 hours back with your kids this year, what would that be worth to you as a dad? 480 hours back with your partner, what would that be worth? 480 hours spent improving a hobby or a pastime or an interest of yours. 480 hours on personal fitness and well-being. What would that allow you to be able to do? Either physically or mentally or socially or spiritually or however you want to measure it. So, the 4 things. It starts with 4 letters down the side of your page. D for Delta, D, and you've probably guessed it, D. It's the 4 Ds that are going to free up your time. It's the 4 Ds that are the key to the prison that you're currently in and allow you to be able to move more freely. Are you ready? Great. Then from the moment we finish the 4th D, if you now implement that within your business, next week you should see at least an hour or 2 back. The following week about 3 or 4 hours a week back. By the 3rd week about 5 or 6 hours back. And if you fully implement this within a month, I expect you to start seeing about 10 hours a week of stuff that's now still being done, but not necessarily by you. So let's crack on and understand what the 4 Ds of freedom really are. The first D, the most important D, that you cannot circumnavigate under any circumstances, the first D of freedom is called delete. You heard me. Delete. There are things that you are currently doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis that are not supporting you and your growth. There are things that have eaten into your time today so far that have got no contributions towards you and your success. Things that you are doing to help others at the expense of helping yourself, not whilst helping yourself. Emails that come in that you read and have got no relevance whatsoever any longer to your journey. Phone calls that you answer that somebody else could have responded to. Actions that you take, 5-minute tasks that are actually an hour long, that eat into your time, that have got no or little benefit to the journey that you're on right now. Habits that you have done, the things that you have done that have led you to where you are today that are now holding you back from where you need to be tomorrow. There are things that you can simply stop doing and have 0 negative impact on the journey that you're on and where you are on that journey. Identify them and stop doing them. Delete. The second D And the only way that we can do anything from here on in is if we filtered everything that we do through the first D. If I can't delete it, if it has got some form of contributions towards me, my journey, my business, and where I am right now, the second D is to delegate. There are other people in your wheelhouse, whether you be a solopreneur and flying by the seat of your pants, or whether you've already got a team in place, there are other people in your wheelhouse, be it family, friends, colleagues, connections, who could do some of the things that you're currently doing. And the simple fact is, you haven't asked, told, taught, trained, paid for them to do so. There are still things that you are doing because you are their point of contact. Oh, if ever I need X, I'll speak to Y. At the time of recording this podcast, whenever I need to be able to record podcast, I'll pick up the phone, I'll speak to Scott at Heartset Productions. Scott's my video guy. And if ever I need video, I'll call Scott. But that doesn't mean to say that Scott has to be sat in the room opposite me, having turned up with all his kit and equipment, and Scott do all of the work. Scott is my point of contact. He's the guy that I phone when I want video. But whether Scott does it himself or allocates it to a member of his team, either that's to do the videoing, or to prepare all the kit and equipment and pack the car and this and the other type thing. Or once the video's been done, all of the editing and the subtitles and the SEO and all. I don't know the names or the skill sets of the other people within Heartset Productions. I have a point of contact, the business owner. So I can pick up the phone or send an email to the business owner and say, I require X on Y to do Z. And then it's down to Scott to determine whether, as a managing director, he chooses to take it on himself and do the do, or whether he allocates it to other people within the team. The doing still gets done, but it's not by Scott. And vice versa. When the phone rings or the email comes through to my True North to ask about either our Pillars of Progress program on how to be able to put the systems and processes in place to be able to grow a business, whether it's our Taste of Freedom program on how to be able to free up the CEO or the managing director or the business owner from being able to operate the business and move from operator to owner. Predominantly what we're talking about today. Whether it's our legacy program, whether it's our pricing course, whatever inquiries come into the business, it's not me that's dealing with the inquiry. My job is to be able to ensure that the inquiries are being dealt with by delegating them to, at the moment, Rachel, or whoever it is who's managing the front of house for the business, the admin manager for the business. So delegation is the next key, is to identify who could do this, not how will I do this. The third D is for those few tasks that we've not been able to delete, that require our actions, that require us to do something, that we can't delegate it, that the person that requires, or the skill set that's needed, the face, the video, the audio, the signature, that it needs to be me. So the third D is to defer. And what I mean by that is just because it's arrived on your desk doesn't make it the hot potato that determines I've got to drop everything and run and do it straight away. Defer is about now allocating the right time for it to be done, to align with you and your business, that we are both evolving and growing and developing together, as opposed to at the cost of me being able to do it. I'm not going to drop everything and run because the phone rang. Somebody else can answer the phone, and if it needs to be dealt with by me, it'll then be allocated to the right time and energy in my diary. So I'm not trying to multitask and dive all over the place. It's actually been proven scientifically now that if you're multitasking, you're probably operating at no more than 60% of your capability, because your thinking is dancing around all over the place from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So to be able to have strategic time blockers that says on Monday I'm going to do marketing, on sales I'm going to do anything to do with, on Tuesday I'm going to do anything to do with sales, on Wednesday I'm going to just concentrate on operational efficiencies, and so on and so on. To have allocated bits of time where any task that has to be done by you is put into that slot of time, that I can do all of my sales consideration in my sales block of time and sales energy. I can do all of my recruitment, retention, HR type people management on a set amount of time, that all of that can be fitted into a certain period of time where my thinking is just specific on a part of the business. So third D is defer. And only once you've gone through the first 3 D filters do we come to the final D of get on and do it. Because now we're only doing what's relevant to us and our journey and where we're going. We've already established the things within that task that could be done by other people and are being done elsewhere. We've ensured that it's being done in the right time frame for me to be in the right energy, in order that when I commit to doing it, I can do it quickly, efficiently, succinctly, and to the best of my ability, because I'm in the right frame of mind and energy to be able to do that work. It's been pre-scheduled, so I know what's coming, I know what's to prepare for, I know how to get it done. The 4 Ds that once you implement will add at least 10 hours back to your availabilities to do what matters most. I'd love to hear as to how you get on, or if you have any struggles with that you perhaps want some help and support with. Simply get in touch, and I'd love to be able to have the conversation with you. Just as a final thought for today, if you're interested to learn more about how to be able to move from owner-operator or in the busyness of business, then the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or in the show notes, the link takes you to our business freedom assessment, www.mytruenorth.club BFA for business freedom assessment, a free guide to determine as to how stuck are you, what grade of prison are you in, and how to be able to be offered the key to be able to break free. God bless, take care. I'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Accidental Business Owner podcast with me, Jay Allen. If today's episode sparked a thought, challenged your thinking, or gave you a new tool to grow smarter, share it, rate it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment of transformation. God bless, take care, and I'll see you again next week.